This is a brief presentation of a small part of my essay. In the Eco-Optimists, we get that people can make things on Earth better, not just less bad. So what are we doing to make Earth better? One of the methods favored by many economists is the carbon pricing. Carbon pricing charges those who emit carbon dioxide for their emissions. The charge, called a carbon price, is the amount that must be paid for the right to emit 1 ton of CO2 into the atmosphere. To simply explain the method, we have this model. If we set the carbon price $1 per gram, say, for me, a healthy adult weighs 58 kilograms, I have to pay $2,400 to breathe, plus a dime to fart. Well, normally, the carbon price would not be that high. Early in 1997, Economic Statement on Climate Change summarized the most efficient approach to slowing climate change is through market-based policies. Many countries set up the carbon tax to reduce the harmful and unfavorable level of carbon dioxide emission. In order for the world to achieve its climatic objectives at minimum cost, a cooperative approach among nations is required, such as an international emission trading agreement. And that is what happened in Paris climate talk in 2015, the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is the agreement dealing with greenhouse gas emissions mitigation, adaptation, and finance, starting in the year 2020. Its long-term goal is to keep the increase in global average temperature to well below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level by 2040. Countries like China and the United States are included. Under the Paris Agreement, each country must determine, plan, and regularly report on contributions that it undertakes to mitigate global warming. Theoretically, as the IHS Markit report indicates, a carbon price of $40 to $80 per metric ton of CO2 is needed to achieve Paris Agreement emission reduction targets. If 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide is reduced, the increase of average temperature will fall below the target. In fact, however, in Carl Davenport's report, Major Climate Report describes a strong risk of crisis as early as 2040. The world is already more than halfway to a 1.5 degree mark. The spending on carbon emission is huge, and many countries failed the goal. Among these, the most significant one is the withdrawal announced by this man. The state delegation represents a president who has rejected climate science and policy, but accepted money. The statement said, "The United States intends to withdraw from Paris Agreement at the earliest opportunity absent the identification of terms that are better for the American people." It's just like the excuse that failing the first exam is for working hard for the next one. Well, thanks, said an international student. At least, the carbon price will rise to $135 to $5,500 per ton of carbon dioxide pollution in 2030. Back to the essay, according to Zhang, Senior Director of Climate Change at World Bank Group, pricing carbon pollution will help stimulate innovation and cut emissions, and also give governments the funds they need to help drive investments for a low-carbon future. It's true. Remember what Colin Dickey indicates in Deep Chill, that our next generation may have more insight to deal with the problem. But how long can we wait for a better solution? What's more, due to the urgency of climate change, the price of emitting carbon ascended exponentially. Indeed, carbon pricing promotes a kind of optimism towards the environmental crisis, but for politics and economy, carbon pricing is the stimulation of a better solution of the problem. Speaking about carbon pricing, it actually reminds me of the time after the foundation of People's Republic of China, when people could only buy a limited amount of food. A certain ticket was used to assign the grain and meat to people for the poor productivity of New China. Carbon pricing is such a similar case. Because we don't have much space for carbon emission, we have to set rules. Paying for emitting carbon dioxide is just like handing the ticket. Thanks to some smart people, China developed in an unbelievable speed that ticket is thus abandoned. Probably and hopefully, the same case will happen to our blue lovely sphere.